Hi everyone, I'm Elizabeth Voss, Editor-in-Chief of Disputed Media, and I'm so glad to be here once again to read you one of our articles. It's one, the one I'm going to talk to you about today is really important. It's one that I published just yesterday, but it also relates to events that have happened just this morning, my time. So I will read you the article, and then I will discuss a little bit about events that have taken place already that had not happened at the time that I wrote the article, because I think that it is better and more comprehensive to just simply add the discussion of what has happened this morning to this article, as opposed to write a new one and somehow try to make two different videos and all that sort of thing. So anyway, the article that I wrote yesterday was titled "Assange Compares Letter Sent to Donald Trump Jr.'s Wife to Similar Package Delivered to the Embassy." And I'll just get right into it, and then I'll discuss any additional information afterwards. Less than a day before a UK court will decide whether to uphold a warrant for his arrest, WikiLeaks editor-in-chief Julian Assange compared white powder sent in an envelope to Donald Trump Jr.'s wife with a similar envelope delivered to the Ecuadorian embassy in London last week. Assange took to Twitter with a comparison earlier today, which at the time of writing was yesterday, so forgive the time-dated references. And then I embedded the tweet by Julian Assange that read, "Donald Trump Jr.'s wife hospitalized after opening an envelope with white powder. Oddly, I received one last Tuesday, a terrorism offence in UK law, which was handed to diplomatic police. The stamp? From the US." And then he links to a Fox News article about the incident with Trump's daughter-in-law, and that's the end of the tweet. Then the article continues, "Press reports indicated that Donald Trump Jr.'s wife, Vanessa Trump, was hospitalized on Monday after receiving a letter containing white powder, according to police. The report added that she was taken to hospital as a precautionary measure." Business Insider reported last week that London police responded to reports of suspicious activity, a suspicious package at Ecuador's embassy in the city on Tuesday. At the time of the mysterious package's delivery to the embassy, the nature of the item was unclear, with some reports describing a bomb threat. And I remember hearing about this and not knowing what to make of it, and that's one of the reasons I didn't publish an article at the time, is because so much of what happened initially in response to this event was speculation about what it could be. Was it fake? What was it? Who knows? So it seems that as this event happened with Vanessa Trump, things have become slightly more clear in what the events were that took place at the embassy last week. However, Assange's statements on Twitter indicate that the item contained white powder, which was similar to that sent to Vanessa Trump. Assange also noted that the package included a threat addressed to his name, and that the package was marked with a stamp from the United States, as we just read in that tweet. It remains to be seen as to whether the packages sent to Vanessa Trump and Assange shared a common origin, or if they were related in any way. And then I have a tweet embedded from Assange again, which was published yesterday in the afternoon. He wrote, quote, "I can confirm that a package containing an unknown white powdery substance and a threat was addressed to my name. It was handed to UK diplomatic police. I understand they are performing toxicology and forensics." So again, yesterday, I don't believe, and I may be wrong, but I don't believe that that Assange had made a statement like that in the wake of the events at the embassy. And so that was the first I heard that it had been a white powdery substance that was delivered. And so I thought that was interesting. The mysterious package was delivered to the embassy on the same day that proceedings began as part of an ongoing court case that will determine whether a UK arrest warrant against Assange will be upheld. The warrant was issued on June 30th, 2012, in connection with a Swedish investigation that never produced charges against Assange and has now ended. As Disputed Media previously observed, the UK appears to have actually pressured Sweden to continue its investigation into Assange after the Swedish authorities expressed the intent to drop the matter. The latest events add to a breakneck string of changes in Assange's arbitrary detention in the Ecuadorian embassy. If the court rules against Assange's interest, which this morning, unfortunately, it did, it will necessitate the claim that his ongoing and extremely expensive detention is in the public interest. Given that the BBC reported in 2015 that the cost of policing Assange in the embassy had reached more than £10,000 a day, and I would assume it's gone up since then, it appears patently absurd to argue that arbitrarily detaining the publisher is in the best interest of the public. Disputed Media previously wrote regarding the statements of Italian journalist Stefania Maurizi, who has done an amazing job fighting to get the records on Assange's court case. absolutely outstanding journalist, amazing person, who described the findings of the United Nations Human Rights Committee Working Group on Arbitrary Detention, including their statement that, quote, the working group has no choice but to query what has prohibited the unfolding of judicial management of any kind in a reasonable manner from occurring for such an extended period of time. If the UK judge does rule against Assange, as they did, it would in reality be in the interest of the United States, which is reluctant to admit a secret extradition order against the WikiLeaks editor-in-chief. If forced to do so, it would finally show, in broad daylight, that Assange's detention has nothing to do with a sex abuse investigation that has since been dropped, and everything to do with punishing the publisher of information that has been extremely embarrassing to war hawks and corrupt actors in the United States. Such a ruling would also contradict the UN body, which found that his detention is both arbitrary and deserves compensation. As Assange and his supporters have noted, the WikiLeaks co-founder has already served over 3 times the maximum term that would be given for a breach of bail. And so that's the end of the article. And then obviously the ruling that came in this morning, my time, regarding Assange's, the arrest warrant against Assange was not good. And not only was it not good, it was also just absolutely despicable. The tone in which that ruling was written was absolutely sadistic in my mind. And I'm adding this because I believe it's important. And I think that when you look at, for example, earlier this morning, I tweeted about this, and I want to read it to you. 1 second. I wrote, the ruling is bad enough. The tone of the judgment rang like mockery, an absolutely sadistic attitude towards suffering. And that was, and I also wrote, Mr. Assange's health problems could be much worse, said the judge. Sounds like a threat and absolutely despicable. So I'm not going to draw any conclusions from some of these events that have happened in the last couple of weeks, but I think it's extremely noteworthy that the judge wrote that Mr. Assange's health problems could be much worse, quote, just after he'd received, a week before, after he'd received this white powdery substance with a death threat from the US, and that at the same time, that package was received by him on the day that the previous ruling in this case had come through, and I think I can't make any, conclusions about that, but I think it's noteworthy. And I think especially the reason that I'm making this comparison and I'm drawing these dots together is not out of some sort of paranoia, but it's in the context of and in light of the continuous death threats that Assange has received from people, including members of the Democratic Party in America, with Mr. Evan Ross, who openly stated his intent to willingness to murder both Assange and Edward Snowden. So I think when you have that type of environment, and you have then rulings like this that seem to make jokes about Mr. Assange's health as if it's not absolutely criminal to hold a person where they cannot receive medical care, it's disgusting. And it makes a joke of any sense of pretense or like hypocritical notion that the West has a moral authority in cases like this. And so I hope people continue to pay attention to this case. I encourage them to go read the documents exposed by Stefania Maurizi. They're amazing and eye-opening. And also check out the ruling as it stands that was tweeted earlier today by Bella Magnani. It was amazing to read in the judge's words their dismissal of the torture that Assange is going through. It's absolutely mind-blowing that there is even the pretense that this is justice. It's absolutely sickening. So, with that ramble through, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And I hope that, as I continue to read these articles to you all, that I'll get some of the technical difficulties ironed out. And I hope that this is helpful in being able to try to get these articles to you in an audio format. And if you want to catch up with my written work, obviously, please go to disobedientmedia.com. All of my articles are there. You can also follow me on Twitter at ElizabethLeavos. I'm also on Steemit. You can find Disobedient Media at Disobedient News on Twitter, and we're also on Facebook still until we're kicked off of there. So with that all said, thank you so much. Please go donate to WikiLeaks because they need it for this legal fight, and I will see you next time.